Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we got a few different things to talk about. One of the things we're going to talk about is an update on the previous podcast that I talked about this weird alleged light being that appeared on a security camera. We're going to talk about that. There was a lot of comments I received from people, and I also have some more information from the couple who had captured it on their security camera. So that's going to be very interesting to talk about later on. And also, we're going to talk about the incursions of UAP at a nuclear facility in Texas. I want to talk about that today because to me it's just another example of how this whole UFO situation is basically completely outside of the control of any military in the world, and it's just. It's one of the reasons why they're not telling us the truth about this and why it's been covered up for so long, the reality of the situation. And in addition to the main reason is the reverse engineering aspects to it that they continue to lie about and pretend isn't real, even though we have dozens of whistleblowers now telling Congress people otherwise. But the first thing I want to talk about today, though, is with regard to crime scene reconstruction expert Scott Roeder. I thought this was worthy of discussion because a couple of months ago I was talking about how he's pretty much a world-renowned expert in his field, and he had testified in a case back in May for a person named Christopher Dunn in St. Louis. And Christopher Dunn was convicted of murder back in the early 1990s, and he's been in prison for almost 35 years. And thanks in part to Scott Roeder's testimony, Christopher Dunn has now been released. His sentence has been vacated by the judge, and he's now out. After almost 35 years in prison, there's, because of not just Roeder but others, but Roeder was a part of this effort to get Christopher Dunn out of prison because he was in there, and there wasn't evidence that he didn't kill this person who they say he allegedly killed. So this guy apparently has been in prison for almost 35 years, and he was innocent. And Scott Roeder helped to finally get this guy out. And I think it's important to point that out because, as we all know, Scott Roeder is the person who back in early April 2nd, and we made that podcast, Vindication Day, he's the one who has showed to the world that there is no question about it, some sort of extraterrestrial or non-human intelligence among us, based on the video that was taken in Las Vegas last year in 2023, late hours of April 30th and early morning hours of May 1st. The Kenmore family called 911, and they were saying that there were 8 to 10 foot tall alien creatures in their backyard. And Scott Roeder earlier this year proved to the world that is the case, that they were telling the truth and that there were in fact creatures in their backyard, and the video proves it. And I'm not going to get into all the details of that again. I've talked about that enough on here. There's enough episodes where I go over all of that evidence. There's no need to go over that again. But I want to just point it out that this is the kind of person who Scott Roeder is. And to this point, no one has come close. Nobody has come close to debunking this. A lot of people in the UFO community won't even dare try to even touch it anymore. The ones who did, they made fools out of themselves early on. Like people there was different, I'm not even going to mention the names, but there were different people, some people within the UFO community who said it's shadows and this and that and yada, yada, yada. But now we now know that that's all wrong, and that there was most certainly alien creatures in the backyard. And that video, along with the rest of the evidence, proves that there is a presence here. I mean, a lot of us already knew this. I mean, I've had my own experiences. It's just a matter of we never really had the absolute end-all evidence. But now we do, thanks to Scott Roeder and his team, who looked into this, examined the video, and made some determinations. And now we know for a fact, despite what anybody tells you, despite any of these opinions you see online, don't even listen to them because they don't know what they're talking about. Scott Roeder's an expert. These nameless people you see online who say they don't see it or it's a shadow or this or that or the other, don't listen to them because they don't know what they're talking about. There's a lot of the closest anyone dared come to was there was a guy named Louis Cayetano, a debunker, who him and along with this other debunker put out this paper recently, which I talked about on the show. That guy, the only thing he could do, his debunking effort involved just basically character assassination, just telling me I'm crazy if I think that this means anything. So as we all know, there's nothing anybody could do about it. The Pentagon, I sent a letter to the Pentagon in early June 11th, I think it was, and they have not yet responded. I don't think they ever will. And what are they going to say if they do? What are they going to say? They're not going to be able. No one's ever going to be able to disprove it. In fact, it constitutes the absolute evidence that we've been waiting for our whole lives. And here, this is the kind of guy, Scott Roeder. He just testified because of his testimony in court in St. Louis back in May. A guy who's been spending almost 35 years in prison, convicted for murder. His sentence has now been vacated and he's free, and that's in part thank you to Scott Roeder. So that's the kind of guy we have on this side of the equation. The debunkers and the other people in the UFO community, they got nothing. They got nothing. It's that it was game over, like we've been talking about before. So anymore, this channel operates on the reality that there is most certainly something here. I've always operated like that, but now we actually have the evidence to back it up. So when anybody ever tells you otherwise, right, that there is no proof, I'll see that online today. I see on Twitter, I see some people, there's never been any proof. I'm not even arguing with them because these people are idiots as far as I'm concerned. The proof has been out there, it's been laid out, it's been explained, and if they're too dumb to understand it, well, there's nothing I can do for you. You're just too stupid. That's all I gotta say. You're too stupid, right? You're just too dumb. But anyway, I thought it was noteworthy to talk about. Scott Roeder actually sent me a text message this morning, and he was very excited about this news, and I thought it was definitely worthy of sharing it with my audience, because it just goes to show that we have a professional person, a guy who's world-renowned in what he does. He's a film analysis expert, been doing it for over 30 years. He's a lot of different, he's like 7 or 8 different employees in his company that they do this kind of stuff all along. They helped him prove this Las Vegas incident, proving that there were extraterrestrials or non-human intelligent creatures in the backyard last year of the Kenmore family. It's all been proven now, thank you to Scott Roeder. And you see, this is the kind of, he's an expert. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. And so I just want to point that out to everyone out there. So I'm still waiting for one of the debunkers, Mick West. He declined. He won't even respond to this because you know what? He can't, because he can't debunk it. He can't do it. It proves it. And you know what? I'll just say this too. Even though this evidence has been put out there, it's been out there since April 2nd, right? And it was featured on a couple of different mainstream news outlets. Was on News Nation. They talked about it. I don't think they did an in-depth job enough. I think they should have put a little bit more effort into that broadcast. But I was glad that they put it on there. And I'm also happy that Fox News ran some digital articles on this. That was very much appreciated. So the information is out there. It's in the wild, as I stated before in the past. And as time goes on, more and more people will see this. But the fact of the matter is it showed. We have evidence now that shows, no doubt about it, there's something here among us. What they're doing, we don't know, but there is most certainly something here among us, and we have absolute proof that shows that now. I just want to make that clear to anybody. So I don't care if anybody wants to throw any comments on here that wants to say otherwise. You're just making a fool out of yourself. You're dumb. As far as I'm concerned, you're dumb. All right? Sorry. Anyway, moving on, I want to talk about these UAP incursions at the Pantex Nuclear Facility. This has been going on for quite a few years. Recently, there was discussion. A lot of people were talking about this. People like George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell had talked about this last month, I believe. There's an article here from the UAP Register that I'm going to get into right now, where they talk about this. I'm not going to read the entire article, but I just want to read some of it because I think it's very important. The fact that this shows that we've been dealing with this for a long time, and they're obviously, these beings, wherever they're coming from, whatever they are interested in our nuclear capabilities, our nuclear weapons. And here was this article from from the UAP register. It's very interesting. I'll leave the link so you can check out the entire article for yourself. But it's by Dustin Slaughter, and it says here, recently released United States Department of Energy report indicates that security personnel at the Pantex Nuclear Weapons Facility near Panhandle, Texas, witnessed an unidentified object on September 2nd, 2015. The report, obtained by the UAP Register through the Freedom of Information Act, raises serious questions about the security of some of America's most sensitive energy and weapons facilities. The document also draws the Department of Energy further into the ongoing debate over what the federal government knows about the existence of unidentified anomalous phenomena. The Pantex facility, originally constructed as a conventional bomb plant in 1942, now plays a significant role in the production and disassembly of United States nuclear weapons and is considered a highly sensitive national security site by the federal government. According to the report, Pantex security personnel were alerted to an object described as a diamond-type shape, with it being more round at the top. Personnel were then dispatched to follow it and obtain as much information about it as possible. Following the incursion, the object continued traveling north of the Pantex plant. Security followed the unidentified object for several miles before it was no longer visible. The incident is notable not only for the highly sensitive nature of where it occurred, but also because there is other documented evidence besides the trained observers present during the incident. So this information came out because of a Freedom of Information Act request, by the way. It says here, according to the report, the object was also tracked by ground radar and photographed by personnel at a nearby radar tower, likely located at Rick Husband Amarillo International Airport. Images of the object were, this is the other thing. There were images of the object, but guess what? The government's not releasing those images. I wonder why. Images of the object were subsequently analyzed by the Energy Department's Sandia National Laboratories. Whatever conclusions were drawn from this data about the object and incursion are not known. The images in the report were redacted, alleging the need to protect unclassified, controlled nuclear information. I don't buy that. I just want to stop there for a second. I don't buy that. They could have shown a close-up of the object and not shown anything underneath it, right? They just could have just focused it, blacked everything else out around it, right? I mean, what are you talking about? Let's see what the object looks like. But no, they don't want to show you a diamond-shaped object hovering over a nuclear weapons plant. Why would they want to do that? Because then you're going to know. That's why they don't want to do it. They don't want to tell you. They've been lying about this for so many years. It's insane at this point. Anyway, the UAP Register has appealed for the release of these redacted images, is filing another request for additional analysis from Sandia, and is considering litigation to make more data public. The Department of Energy did not respond to repeated requests for comment. Well, of course they won't. Remember the Department of Energy, that Jennifer Granholm, the Secretary of the Department of Energy, recently, when I did do a podcast about this, where she was at she met with Congress, and she said one of her comments, which I took great offense to, was that the federal government, the Department of Defense, has told us that there's no evidence of extraterrestrials in the United States. There never was any evidence of that, but this is evidence of it right here. Where else are they coming from? What else are they? But I love how they talk. They'll say that they're drones. They'll refer to them as drones, even though, as you'll find out as we go through this article, this has been going on at this place for decades, long before there were drones. Anyway, it says here, the Department of Energy did not respond to repeated requests for comment, including whether the investigation into the Pantex incursion remains open and if then Energy Secretary Ernest Moniz was made aware of the incident. And then it talks about the history of it. History of diamond shape, not just regular old run-of-the-mill flying saucers, but it seems like diamond-shaped objects have been seen over this plant over many, many years. What's going on? What are they? Remarkably, the 2015 incursion may not have been the first time that diamond-shaped objects were witnessed near the Pantex facility. According to reports submitted to the National UFO Reporting Center, or NUFORC, by former employees at the facility, these incidents were equally dramatic. Here was one of the witnesses that sent a report to the National UFO Reporting Center stating, "The sightings were over a span of years. I do not know if it was the same craft or a number of them," wrote one witness. They were over Pantex ordnance plants. At the time, we still had an active air base and fighters were scrambled a number of times. We lived 3 miles from the plant, so we had a ringside seat. The craft were diamond-shaped and changed color. When the fighters got near it, it would go straight up at high speed. We knew when the planes landed because the craft reappeared. weird. They would sometimes play tag for hours. So they would send up planes. Imagine this. They're sending up planes. The object just takes off, and then the planes land, and then the object comes back. Because you know what? They could run rings around us, obviously. Another witness wrote, from the late 1950s to the mid-1960s, UFOs were seen over Pantex Ordnance Plant near Amarillo, Texas. I lived 3 miles away to the east at the time. During this period, there were about 100 sightings, but those of us that remember don't talk about it much. The airbase was still open, and they would scramble fighters to intercept, but it was always the same. When the jets closed to 2 miles, the object would go up at high speed. The jets would circle a while, then land. Then sometimes it would come back down to its spot. This was repeated on many nights, always the same type of object that changed colors. So obviously there was some sort of a diamond-shaped object that's just over the span of decades, all the way up until at least 2015, has been showing up over Pantex in Texas. A November 8th, 1957 newspaper account from the Amarillo Globe-Times contains more details about one incident. Here's right from the article. It says, bright flashing objects hovered for half an hour over the Pantex Atomic Energy Commission Ordnance Plant 15 miles east of Amarillo Thursday night, according to plant guards. The brilliant objects were reported to the State Highway Patrol Office by plant guards at 7:46 p.m. A patrolman dispatched to the plant arrived at 8:15 p.m. and reported that he, too, saw a strange light. The patrolman said guards were all shook up. Guards said 3 objects had been floating over the plant 50 feet above the ground for some time. When I got there, the patrolman said, the guards said one of the objects had landed on Farron Road 2373, 3 miles north of Highway 60. We drove to the area, but nothing was there. But I'm convinced that the guards saw something land. So actually, one of them actually landed. The patrolman said guards told him they had tried to sneak up on the objects. I guess that's what they meant to say, slip up on the objects, it says, but by turning off their lights, but things would just slip away from them when they got near it. So they tried to sneak up on it. Yeah, these things, they're like 10 steps ahead of us, or maybe more, maybe 100,000 steps ahead of us. You can't sneak up on these things. They know they know when you're coming. And then there's a link here so you can read the entire newspaper report. And then it says here, it continues, it says here, on May 23rd, 2024, Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm was grilled by a member of the House UAP caucus with a series of questions during a House Government Oversight Committee hearing. And it says here, this is what Representative Anna Paulina Luna told Granholm. She said, there have been documented sightings of metallic spheres over Department of Energy facilities, if you want to call them drones in this instance, such as one report on April 30th, 2019, over Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory. What investigations have been conducted into these sightings, and what conclusions do you have about the nature and origin of these objects? And Granholm said she'd be happy to follow up on that. She didn't have an answer, but she also said that that the agency has a whole counter drone effort to make sure that all of our national security sites and our labs are protected from incursions from drones. I'll just say that are not authorized. So there's a whole series of protocols probably not ripe for discussion in this public meeting. So she's calling them drones. And the story goes on. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I just wanted to give you the idea of what's going on here. It's a very long article. It gets into some of the other stuff. It gets into Sean Kirkpatrick and Arrow and some of the stuff that they've been talking about. But I guess the bottom line here is you could see what the stories. This has been going on there for a long time. Objects showing up, sometimes diamond-shaped objects on more than one occasion, sometimes landing on the ground. And what's going on? Obviously, these beings have an interest in what we're doing with these nuclear weapons. That's what they're interested in. Obviously, they're interested in our military capabilities. They've been interested ever since they showed up in force back in 1947. And government officials don't want to tell the public about this. And in a way, in that respect, I got to tell you, I've been doing some thinking recently. There's a lot of people in this world. I'm starting to wonder. I mean, for one thing, I don't know if it's that, if we've laid this information out, for instance, like that I was talking about earlier here with Scott Roeder. You lay out the proof, you show the world, oh yeah, obviously there's extraterrestrials here, right? You lay it out and people see it, and some people who don't really care about UFOs, who I've shown it to, they accepted it, but they just it didn't really faze them. I don't even know why the government's really covering this up. It seems like the only really people who care are people who are interested in the subject. Like the rest of the people, I don't think it's going to cause any sort of mass panic or anything like that. I just don't think people care. People are too involved with what's going on in their own lives to be concerned about a potential alien invasion or anything to that effect. I mean, we don't know why they're here. They could be here for for scientific study, or they could be here for nefarious purposes, and who knows, right? But I just don't think it's going to cause a panic at the same time. So I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, why not just admit it already? Just say, yeah, we've been studying this, and just tell the truth. Just say, yeah, we felt like we needed to keep it a secret because we just don't understand the intentions. And I'm sure you still don't understand the intentions. And I'm not sure if we could ever fully understand the intentions of alien visitors, because they're not going to be thinking like we do. If these creatures are insects, like a lot of people have stated that they look like, right? They look like insects, like advanced insects. If that's what they are, they're not going to think like human beings think. They're just not. So I don't know how we'd ever figure out exactly what they're up to or what their end game is. So I don't see what the harm is in just letting the world know the truth and just, letting them see it. But at the same time, I don't think maybe we don't make a big deal out about this. Like I've talked about this. I talked about this during the week when Scott Roeder first laid out that proof. I stated maybe it's not a good idea to have big front page news stories, top of the fold headlines saying aliens are here, aliens are real, we're not alone. Maybe that kind of thing might cause panic. Maybe you do just, don't make a big deal out about it. Maybe that's the way you do proceed. Because I for one thing, right, by blowing it up and making it a big deal about it, like if that's what the mainstream news eventually does, because they're here, we have the evidence. It's just there. I'm just waiting. One of these days, somebody in the mainstream news is going to see what Scott Roeder has talked about. They're going to put it all together, and they're going to realize, oh my God, it is real. And what do we do with this? Maybe they'll do nothing with it. Maybe they'll do something with it. I don't know. But at some point in the future, this is going to come out. How is it going to come out? If they have big, scary headlines, that could lead to issues. That could cause issues. Maybe what you do is you come out with it, smaller headlines. Maybe page 3 instead of the front page. Yeah, it looks like we're not alone. Oh, okay. The elect, and then have to just keep your election stuff on the front page, all your politics. I don't know. I just don't know. Even though I do believe personally that it is the biggest story of all time, maybe to prevent any sort of panic, if that's what you're trying to avoid, you just let it come out nice and slow. But it's already out. That's the whole issue. It's already out there now. It's there. It's there for anybody who wants to know the truth about this. They could find out. There's no guessing anymore. There's no I wonder if there's really aliens here. You see people on TV talking like this all the time and on the news. Oh, I wonder if we're alone or not. No, we're not alone. Obviously, we're not alone. We're not alone. We're not alone. I'm looking forward, by the way, to Lou Elizondo's book, which is going to be released next week. Or excuse me, next month in August 20th, I believe, which will be, and I'm looking forward to see if there's any sort of new information included there that might, maybe that's going to be the beginning of something finally. Maybe that will cause the mainstream to do something, to react. I don't know. I do at the same time. I don't think we make a big deal about this, because you could scare people. You'd scare people. People in the UFO community who've been studying this for a long time, for instance. I'm already there. I already know that they've been showing up over nuclear facilities. I already know about alien abductions. I already know about all these things, right? So, but then somebody who really hasn't thought about it much, and all they ever got, all the information they have about it is from movies or like Signs or something like that. If you do that, those people might freak out. Maybe if you make it sound scary. If you so I don't know how you do it, but the fact of the matter is, folks, is that the information is out there. It's floating around now. I mean, this article here, this goes to show you. This is just how many times over the years have we talked about different kinds of cases when they're showing up over nuclear facilities or military bases, wherever. I mean, it seems like they're interested in our military and in our militaries and in our nuclear facilities. So, if people who are not really read up on this subject, and all of a sudden they're hearing all this stuff all at once, that could freak somebody out. That's why I think maybe we need to just take it a little bit slow. But I still think the mainstream news needs to do something. They need to figure out a way to handle this and get this out to the public. And to let the public know that we are not alone. Instead of having scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson showing up on some morning TV show and saying, "Yeah, there's no proof of aliens," when that's a lie. That's a lie at this point. When anybody who's saying that anymore, that they're just they're uninformed or misinformed, or maybe that's disinformation that they're putting out there. But the truth of the matter is we're not alone. It's obvious now. We have the evidence that shows that we're not alone. There's some other kind of intelligence here among us. Guaranteed 100%. But so I don't know. I guess I'm torn in a way. Like I'm one of the people who, I cry about having disclosure. I think they should have told the truth a long time ago. That's where I stand with it, because now look at this. Look at the mess. This is a mess. This is a mess. I mean, there's going to be so many people when they finally start realizing what the truth is, right, over time. A lot of people are going to be upset with the government. The government better have a good speech. Somebody from the Pentagon better have a really good speech ready to go and talk about why they kept it a secret. You better come up with something good. You're going to have to. But at the same time, the mainstream media needs to be, they need to start handling this. They need to start talking about this more. I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now. A lot of, particularly in the United States, you have this election going on. That's a big deal. It's a big deal. I mean, there's other things going on in the world. There's the wars that need to be stopped. I mean, we're acting like animals for the most part. But we need this. People still need to know, but it needs to be. And it needs to be brought out to them in a way that's not going to cause any sort of negative reaction, and I guess that's the thing. I mean, you read stories like this, and you see, okay, here, this is just one place where they've been seeing UFOs since at least the 1950s, right? Are hovering over this place. I mean, come on. And how many other places are there? You see, 2015, just 9 years ago, there was another incident. It's just ridiculous. But it just goes to show that another thing it does show is that we have no control over this. But maybe it ain't a bad thing, because it's just part of this existence that we are in, and there's nothing we can do about it. Just part of our of this deal, whatever, if you want to call it a deal, whatever the cards laid out, this is part of it, right? And something's here, and it's out of our control, and they most certainly are more advanced than we are technologically, obviously. And people in governments are keeping this a secret from the people, obviously because some of them are keeping it a secret mainly because of the reverse engineering potentiality, but also because of the concern of how people are going to react to it. And I think that was probably more so early on. That's why they should have told the truth at least by the late 50s, I think. I think they should have came out then. I think this is just so absurd to let this go on like this. Because, look, what happened in Vegas, let me just tell you this, right? What happened in Vegas that's just a little sampler. I think that as time goes on and technology gets better, right, and cell phone technology, security cameras, all these things are going to just keep improving over time. There's going to be more evidence like that comes out that, just adds more fuel to the fire, and people are going to know. It's not going to take a whole year, basically. You're like with the Vegas case, it took almost a whole year. It did. I think it took just about a whole year till we actually were able to say definitively that this constitutes proof. It took a whole year till we finally were able to get to that point. Looking at that video, millions of people were looking at that video and seeing things, but you weren't really able to say one way or the other whether, but now you can. Now, okay, I want to get into the most recent podcast I was talking about. Now, some people did not like it. I could tell you that. I would say more so than some of my other videos. I think some people thought I was wasting my time with it. But I could tell you this, I have some more interesting information. I just want to say, too, I'm still, since last week, I've been sick for like a week and a half now. I think I'm getting over it, but I just don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to show you this quick video here, just as a reminder. It's only 13 seconds long of this security cam footage that was captured just after 5 a.m. on May 27th, 2022. I'm using this, and aren't their real names, at the former home of Jack and Jane Smith. That's not their real names. And this is what it looked like. And then we talked about this at length in the previous podcast. Well, as you can see, now there was a lot of different ideas about this. Now, when I talked to, they actually had contacted MUFON about this, like I've stated in the previous show. MUFON could not come up with an explanation, and apparently just gave up on it after time. The investigator that looked at it thought that basically what they think they're seeing was that there was a figure that was captured in the reflection in that light fixture on the wall. That's what Jack and Jane thought that they see there. There's some sort of a figure there. It disappears right when this weird light shows up. Looks like it goes in and out of the door, and at one point they said that they believed it looked like their husband's face could be seen. Looks like it's part of the light fixture on the bottom, like his mouth. And there was a lot of different comments, and I'm going to just talk about some of the comments here, and then I'm going to talk about some of the emails I just received from over the last couple of days from Jane Smith, because I asked her some other questions with regard to this. Anyway, here's Road Pirate Film says, the reason the light seems so bright is probably because the camera is set to night vision mode. Mine does the same thing, and all light sources seem super bright. Okay, that sounds like I don't know. Again, I just want to point out to everyone, I'm not saying it was extraterrestrial or interdimensional. I don't know what it was. I still don't know what happened in this video, and that's why I put it out there. There were some people who got upset with me over this video for some reason. They couldn't believe that I spent 44 minutes talking about it. But I think when you hear the additional information I have to provide on this, maybe you'll think otherwise. Anyway, Bill Davis wrote, as our technology rapidly increases, society will be catching more anomalous phenomena on video. Yes, I do believe that. Yes. Cyborus said Stan Romanek used to report flashes of light when he was being visited by the Greys. He used to say there would be weird flashes. Yeah. One of the suggestions that I had made in that video was maybe it was an abduction, but it happens in a different frame of time. Maybe these aliens operate on a different time frame, because to me it looked like, after looking at that video over and over again, it looked like this weird light that just shows up out of nowhere. Well, first you see this, looked like there was something standing there. I don't know what it was. A MUFON investigator suggested it could have been a person wearing a mask. I don't know about that, but whatever. That could be the case. We just don't know. We don't have any answers, right? But to me, I suggested it could have been an alien abduction that happened, but happened with somehow time being altered. And to me, it looked like the whatever light that showed up there, it didn't look like headlights from a car or anything like that, but it looked like whatever light showed up there went into the house real quick and then came back out again. And if you look at that video and you slow it down, there was a lot of different weird anomalous things going on. Like for one thing, it looked like the wall where the light fixture was on, it looked like it disappeared momentarily in some of the frames, and it looked like there was shelving or something off to the left. I don't know how to explain that. But again, we're going to go through some of these comments and see what some people have to say. Bill Davis also says, I blew up the figure in the reflection, and it looks like a gray alien head with its spindly arms dangling. He's talking about the being that was seen standing in the reflecting in the light fixture. He says the light source could be the energy released as the being starts to go through the door, kind of like when they beam people up in Star Trek. This would take a fair amount of energy. Thanks for an interesting video, Jim. Let's see. Joan Mavima says, Skinwalker Ranch vibes. An orb comes through a wormhole and a creature steps out. See, I don't know. Again, all of these comments, as far as I'm concerned, are valid, because here's the problem. Like, some people, the issue is here. The issue now is this. Now that we have absolute proof, right? via the Vegas stuff. We have absolute proof that there are alien creatures here. There's something here, right? So everything's on the table now. So now when you see something like this, the excuse could be, yeah, maybe it's just insects. Maybe it was just a car coming up, but it's really weird. I don't know how you really could say that, but maybe it is, right? But maybe it could be aliens too, because we know they're here now. This puts that, it makes it a viable possibility now, because we have that evidence now. Everything's on the table, including stuff like this. And these people felt strong enough that they couldn't figure out what happened here. They actually sent it to MUFON. And then 2 years later, watching my videos about the Vegas alien stuff, that's why they sent me, that's why Jane sent me this stuff and wanted me to look into it for her. So everything's on. It doesn't make it, it's not crazy to think that maybe it is aliens, because we know they're here now. And yeah, here's the Bad Bunny 87 says, there's no way you made a 44-minute video on this, and then laughing. And then Grim 7747 says, I think he was just trying to be nice and feature a video someone submitted to him. And then Bad Bunny responded saying, when you put it like that, I feel like I should forgive. But still, 44 minutes is a bit steep. 10 minutes max. Okay, well, I spent a lot of time on it. It took time to go through the various anomalies and a discussion about it. Again, I don't know, but it could be. And when you hear the additional information, maybe you'll have a change of heart. Anyway, Oblivion Surveyor says, it's a simple motion activated spotlight. I have one myself. Gnats went flying as soon as it turned on. They love bright lights. All kinds of random things can trigger those spotlights. Cats, cars, people, etc., etc., etc. So this is, I heard this one before from somebody else on here too, saying that it could be bugs. Now, in the one part of the video, after the light shows up, and then all of a sudden you see all this material rising straight from the floor, from the ground, right, and going straight up. Now, I just want to point out that I lived all over the United States. I lived in Pennsylvania, where I am now. I pretty much my whole life. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and now I'm back in Pennsylvania. But I lived in the Midwest. I lived in Iowa for 5.5 years, and I also lived in Hawaii for over 2 years on the Big Island. I've seen all kinds of insects all over the place. One of the weirdest things I ever saw in my life, I was in Iowa. It was at dusk, and I was driving down this lonely farm road one night, and there was this big cloud, it looked like, right in front of me, and I drove right through it. It was a cloud of insects. It was really strange. One of the strangest things I ever saw. But I've never seen insects just all of a sudden I've seen insects flying toward lights, or I've seen that a number of times in my life, but I've never seen anything like this. I never saw anything like it in that video. Now, if somebody could show me other examples of that, that would be good. But I never saw, if it's insects, I mean, they're flying straight up. What, are they sleeping on the ground? And then the light showed up and they all rised up to it? Like that, I've never seen that. I've never seen that before. Just saying. But I'm not saying it's not possible. I just never saw that before in my life. Well, I actually asked. Okay, moving on here. And then somebody else, Blue VW lady, says it was a car turning around. Well, I actually posed some of these things to the person who submitted this to me, and we'll get into that in a minute. And then somebody else says, Vishon says, it just looks like the creature gets teleported away at the right time. Let's see. Julian Anand says, Jinn comes from root word meaning moving exceedingly fast. They can also shape shift and move through solid matter like fish move through water. So some people are thinking there is some sort of a extraordinary, possibly interdimensional or extraterrestrial explanation, while other people think that just there's nothing to this, and I wasted a lot of time talking about it. Let's see what some of the other comments here. Just another this DJ says, they ain't no headlights. That was mad. See, some people have other views of it. They look at it and they have. And the other thing was I did provide a link where you could download this to your computer yourself and look at it yourself and play around with it, and the 13-second video to see what you could come up with yourself. And then another thing that Julian said was, cool video, more than meets the eye. Let's see. Elliot Elliot Orion says, it makes perfect sense if you believe they have lasers capable of basically deconstructing people and reconstructing them into the craft. A guy on Reddit has a very similar video, only the entities responsible for the beam in his video erased a single frame from his video where they were probably visible for a second. You can see in his video the neighborhood's power goes out. Then a flash of light that, interestingly enough, doesn't illuminate the tree it comes through, much like a laser, and goes directly toward his bedroom window twice. He believes wants to take him and wants to return. Guy has a great analysis. I don't think the entities expected him to have a camera with its own backup power supply separate from the house. He came ready because he already suspected he was being abducted. Dude comes off as a highly credible and intelligent. And he goes on to say, another thing to mention is if you've ever heard of the different leaks about the mining equipment China has supposedly reverse engineered, which operates on the same exact concept as the lasers used to abduct and transport entities. It takes material from inside a mountain without having to mine into it, just like their abduction beams, which I believe this to be, along with the usual hijinks these things love to use. It's not extra dimensional. I bet they love when we think it is, since that absolves them and makes it sound like it's completely out of our control. Well, let me just say this. I still think it's completely out of our control, even if it's not interdimensional. And let's see this. Here's from Nick Markov. He says, I enjoy your vids, especially the Las Vegas footage, but I'm a believer, but don't get how a light recorded by a very cheap camera is an anomaly. See, a lot of people didn't think there was much to this, even though they like what I do here for the most part. And that's another thing I've been getting a lot for this. And that's, this is what you get sometimes. What are you going to do? Daniel Steele says, note that within the being image frame, a bright circular spot above the being and to the left that also appears in subsequent frames and perhaps was the source of the whitened frames as it progressed by the camera, then following those whitened frames it is seen again at its original location. Then Mrs. Marsh says, I can't watch anymore. Ha ha. I keep seeing a little blinking face in the lower left-hand corner. I think my brain is trying to see aliens. And then Heiser Soze says, reminds me of the video inside a house where there's a bright flash, no shadows cast, caught inside a kitchen and a woman with a woman and her dog. Actually, I think it was just on The Proof is Out There on Friday. Let's see. Dave Rodriguez says, compelling video to say the least. I differ to Occam's razor speculating NHI traversing solid objects. Could you suggest to the anonymous source regressive hypnosis back during the time of the incident? The capture of the husband's mouth might possibly be an artifact of an abduction. Kay Bellinger said, I was expecting something more dynamic. Yeah, well, yeah, and it's not. When you first look at it, when I first looked at it, I didn't think there was much to it. But after talking to one of the people involved, I thought, okay, this is interesting. This is a true mystery to them, and I thought I would put it out there and see if there's anything, and maybe somebody out there could solve it. So far, I have suggestions and opinions, but no one's really solving it yet. Luke says this is insane. Lee Helk says this is something out of an H.P. Lovecraft story. And then Luke says, some people say the Greys have the capacity to shapeshift. And Dave Simkis says, could it be someone coming in with a torch or a flashlight and using it to blast out the security camera while they check to see if there's anything worth stealing on the porch, or maybe to check the door if the door's locked? I thought about that too, and I actually did look up some videos of people, shining. Well, there is a tricks that thieves use. They'll have like a little light on their hat or something like that, and if you're looking at a security camera, the security camera can't see you. But I don't think that's what you're seeing here. It's not like the light shining right at the camera. It looks like the light comes from somewhere else. Like it's not pointing right at the camera. So I couldn't find anything that looked like that. Like that looked like what you see in this video. Road Pirate Films also says, seems like someone's headlights triggering the camera and the light reflecting off the fixture, creating the circular shaped light on the bottom. Joan Mavima says they switched out her husband with a pod person. And here was a good one from Grim7747. Says, this is a big old moth. It lands on the wall beside the camera activating it, then flutters directly in front of it. It then flaps downward. The flapping wings knock dust off the side of the wall, and that's what you see floating up. I really hope this wasn't submitted to MUFON. Well, as I stated before, yes, it was submitted to MUFON 2 years ago, but MUFON couldn't figure it out. I don't know about a moth. I mean, what was it? Did it come with an army of a million lightning bugs? I mean, what could cause? I mean, to me, I'm seeing bright light there. That was bright lighting up the whole area in front of the front door. I don't see how it could have been a moth, but hey, maybe it is, and maybe that's what I just don't think so, though. But hey, maybe you're right. Doesn't make me right. You could be right. Let's see here. Let's see. Ajbufort says, Jim, when you showed the zoom in of the supposed reflection, the first thing my eyes focused on was the bright light component. I agree with the MUFON person. Call it pareidolia, but what I saw was an image of a woman in a short sleeve dress of some sort and perhaps a hat or maybe puffy hair looking toward the northeast direction of the image. Can you manage to see that? Yeah. I mean, it could be. It could be a person there. But again, it doesn't. There's other things that happen in this video that I'm having trouble getting answers for. Jay Grove says, I like your channel, bro, but you're reaching a little too far. See, some people don't like it. It could be reaching. I don't know. Michael Nuss says, it appears that an engine fires off. That's exhaust gas blowing up dust into the entry area. Did they smell sulfur? Harmonics of some sort of compressor's flow control. And then my children are my life, my something. Headlights, she writes. Headlights, and then there's always debris and or bugs. First thing came to mind as I get the same thing on mine, but hey, I'm open-minded, never know. It looks like, here's users blah 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 says, it looks like they can manipulate our time. They can mess with our time. If you manipulate time, you would manipulate sound as well. The noises, sounds are very strange indeed. Yeah, when the video first begins, you hear some kind of a weird clicking sound. So I didn't understand that part either. Somebody else, David UFX says, street sweeper that was just dirt kicking up and the lights were nothing. Just saying. And then another guy says, I can't see what it is. Iserengi says, dude, I think you're stretching it with this video. It could be just lights and shadows. I mean, this is nothing. Dude, you're making this one way too much of nothing. And then another user says, hello, Jim. Could it be a big orb and a small orb going in and out of the house? You mentioned shelves or shelving. For me, it looks like wooden struts, wooden beams from inside the wall, as if we can see a kind of dematerialization of the outer wall, if this makes any sense. And the white hunched over figure has a creepy alien insectoid face with big black eyes. Could we see an abduction of the husband? It clear as day looks like the mouth and chin of the husband, as if he is floating through the wall. Super creepy video, to say the least. Also, one of my Spotify followers had sent me an email with regard to the case. I'm just going to read this one quick. Mike, thank you for the email. He says, Jim, I didn't know quite how to message or comment on your Jack and Jane episode, so I'm emailing you through the Spotify app. I just wanted to respond to the chirping sound that we hear on their camera. I am almost positive that whatever it was in their camera, it was using echolocation like a bat uses. Thanks for your hard work on the topic. I definitely understand your passion for it. I have my own experiences with it. I know it's real, and even family can't or won't accept it. It's very frustrating, as you know. Keep pushing forward. It's coming. Literally, it's been coming for a very, very long time. Keep looking up and around. Thank you very much, Mike. Yeah, that was a weird one, that maybe what was going on there, figured out how to get there using echolocation like a bat uses. I thought that was an interesting comment. All right, there was some more comments there, and I do appreciate all the comments, even the ones that say I'm crazy for wasting my time on this. I do appreciate it, because maybe I am. I don't know. I just thought it was worthy of sharing, and I don't know what to say about this. But I did send an email back to Jane. Now, I have the names blocked off here, of course, so you can't, because they want to remain anonymous. They no longer live. Just want to point this out, too. Now, this was in California. This was in San Ramon, California, where this happened in 2022. They no longer live in the house, but there's a relative that lives there now. So I just want to point that out. But anyway, I sent this email. I said, hello, blank. I have the name X'd out. I received a lot of comments on the video on YouTube and a lot of opinions. One guy wrote that he thinks a car engine fired up, blowing dust into the entryway. Was there any car parked near the front door? Another guy wrote that it's a motion-activated spotlight and that the floating debris is gnats. Someone else pointed out that it could have been an animal standing on its hind legs that was startled by headlights from a passing car. Yeah, I must have missed that comment. Yeah, somebody said it could have been an animal. The figure that you see initially when the video just starts up, the reflection, that it was an animal on its hind legs. I thought that was, a possibility. But then it doesn't explain the rest of it to me. So I just don't know. Somebody else stated that the camera was in night vision mode, and that is why the light, any light, seems so bright. Another person agreed with the MUFON response and think it's a person standing there, specifically a woman. You tried recreating this in a number of ways. Do you believe any of the prosaic explanations mentioned above provide a possible solution? I plan on mentioning some of the responses toward the end of my next podcast, but I also want to mention the various things you tried in an effort to recreate the incident. Regarding the claim that the floating debris represents insects, did insects act like that at all in any of your recreation attempts? I've seen insects fly toward lights my whole life, but I don't remember ever seeing them all rise from the ground at the same time and float straight up. Thanks again for your help. And she wrote back, and we're going to get into her response. She says, hi, Jim. That's understandable. The footage is very strange, so it will absolutely garner some questions. To answer the below, regarding the car engine fired up gnats, no possible way. The only car was the car that is noticeable in the corner. Around the front door is a lawn. No one left our house at 5:08 a.m. It was just my husband and I living there. Therefore, no dust was being blown. Dust blowing and gnats are erratic in their flight patterns, and these seem to all move up in one direction. Yeah, that's what I saw there too. That's why I don't think it's bugs. I've never personally seen insects act like that. I spent a lot of time in the woods when I was growing up. I've spent a lot of time in different parts of in the wild in my life, and I've never seen anything like that. But maybe maybe just something I just never came across. Regarding animal, not sure what animal it could be. We were living in the suburbs, and the only animals would be cats or dogs. Again, in order for motion to go off, something needs to approach our porch. So if it was a dog or cat, it would need to have stepped onto our porch in order for motion to be activated. We did this on purpose so that the motion would not go off when headlights came on or people walking their dogs, etc. If an animal did come by, I would have to understand how the big light came in. Regarding night vision mode, that could be the case, but it doesn't explain the light orb that is coming out of our door. Yeah, the light orb coming out of the door is very weird, I must say. Regarding a person, we are at a loss because that person would need to be on our front porch, not at a distance clear in the reflection. We did multiple tests where we stood as close to the motion radius, and every time the motion only activated when we walked up to the porch. What caused the reflection is a mystery that we have been trying to figure out. Regarding overall attempts to recreate, I had my nephew turn on his phone light, and although the motion did go off and it was a bright light, it created no whiteout, and you can clearly see that he's holding the phone. We also thought about a strobe light, but the footage is only 13 seconds. Who would go through the effort in shining a strobe light on our porch? We live in a very safe neighborhood, and aside from package theft, no one goes out of their way to walk up to people's homes and shine lights, knowing that all of us now have Ring cameras, security cameras, etc. The only thing I could think of is that it was some type of dematerialization of my husband. He has had ET experiences when he was younger. This might be the first time it was captured on camera. Who knows? It's all so strange, and I'm afraid we may never know. Thank you so much for gathering all of these perspectives. Well, of course, that made me, because the idea of that any of them had any encounters with aliens before, that had me wondering. So, of course, I had to ask again another question. I said, and I responded, I said, thanks for your response. Regarding your husband's experiences with aliens when he was younger, could you elaborate on that? And she did. She says, yes, happy to. I didn't bring this up when we spoke because I didn't want to detract from the strange footage. Her husband actually had experiences when he was younger. When my husband was younger, a toddler, maybe 3 or 4 years old, he remembers seeing animals looking into his play area crib that he thought were monkeys. When he was a teenager, around 17 years old, he saw what he thought was a fire behind the mountain where he lived because there was a glow similar to this. As he continued to gaze, he saw a triangle-shaped object craft with 3 lights. Later that evening, when he was brushing his teeth, he saw a white light outside the bathroom window. It was a single-story home, and a being appeared that looked like a typical gray. Immediately, his mind flashed with images of people laying down on what appeared to be hospital beds with these beings observing them. He was also observing them. In an instant, everything flashed away. He told a few people about it, and was laughed at, and it was dismissed. He kept this to himself. He mentioned it to me when we were first dating, and I thought he was having an acid flashback, LOL. I didn't believe him. Now, after this event, I do. So, that makes it a little bit more interesting now, doesn't it? Because I had suggested in that, and they didn't. Well, I actually had met with her in a Zoom call. I met with Jane, quote Jane end quote pseudonym, in a Zoom call to talk about the video, so she could explain it to me, and we just talked about the video for the most part, okay. And then I kept on looking at it, and the weird thing was that she pointed out was that it looked like her husband's mouth was coming through the wall where the light fixture was for a brief second frame in that 1 or 2 frames in that video. And I thought that was strange, and that's why I gave that hypothesis that maybe it was an abduction, but it happened so fast. That's how, maybe they're operating in a different frame of time, or maybe they're able to slow time down on us, or maybe or speed time up for themselves, or something. I don't know. And that maybe this is how abductions happen. Maybe that's what happened. I actually suggested that when I talked about this. I did not know about this. I just want to point that out. I did not know about this. And now to hear this, I thought that was extremely interesting. So maybe it is. Again, here's the issue. Now, I know a lot of people out there will say, well, there's nothing here. You can't see anything. But it is strange. It's a strange video nonetheless. Yes, could it be something? Could there be a prosaic explanation for this? Sure there can. Obviously there could be. We're never going to know. We're never going to get an answer. But there's also a possibility that it's not prosaic. Maybe it is something that does have something to do with extraterrestrials. Maybe it does. Because here's the thing. We know they're here. We know they're here. This video is very strange. I can't explain a lot of the things that are seen in this video. I can't explain it. Now, as far as the sounds, like one of the things that they talked about when you slow the video down, it sounds like you could hear, like they think it could be voices potentially. It sounds like voices, like slowed down. Is that what's going on there? Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe for some reason, the time is for them. They're operating it so fast that we can't see them, and that's why it's hard to prove their existence, prove that they're here. I just don't know, but I think that there could possibly be something here to think about. It doesn't make me right, but I think it was definitely worth. I'm glad I brought this video forward. I'm glad I'm talking about this. It troubled these people enough. They've been thinking about it for 2 years, wondering what it is. And they don't have any explanation. And it could, like I said, it could be prosaic. Do I think it's a moth? No. Some of the explanations some of the prosaic explanations that were offered, I don't believe that. Could it be some kind of issue? So, there was another guy that had said something to the effect that he has a camera, and that clicking sound that you hear, he said he has a security camera just like it, and it makes a clicking sound like that. Could it be? I don't know. The only way what could be done at some point maybe in the future would be try to recreate what happened there. I don't know if you could though, but you could try. You could try to do a recreation of this and maybe take it. But there could be a prosaic explanation for it, but maybe there's not. Maybe it is something otherworldly. Maybe this is what is happening. That's what she thinks. She says that's what she's come to believe now. After this thing happened, she didn't think it was. She didn't believe him before when he said about his alien experience when he was a kid, his experience with aliens, and now she does. Now she believes him because of this incident, because there was things that happened in that video that to Jane are unexplainable. So I don't know. I don't know. But here's the thing. I think, regardless, right? This is just, I'm so glad. So many people now have these security cameras on their homes. I know some people don't like this idea because everywhere you go now, you're being filmed, right? But at the same time, this is going to, over time, there's going to, enough evidence of weird goings on and other beings among us is going to emerge because of this over time, most certainly. I mean, it already did start. It's been going on. I mean, and you can look back at you could go all the way back to the Turkey UFO videos. I mean, that was that camera that guy was using, Yalçın, the guy from Turkey who was filming that stuff. That was like a very expensive camera at the time that he was using in 2007, 2008, 2009, and he captured what I believe are most certainly aliens. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I did a show just about that recently. And now, since that time, technology is becoming more accessible to people. Better technology, better zoom functions. We're gonna get more evidence as time goes on. There's just no question about it. That's why the government. I think. Here's what I'll say. This. The United States government, I don't think we're going to see much movement on UFOs for the rest of this year until after the election's over. And then maybe we can get back into it. I just think that mainstream's not going to focus on it until this is, till the election, till after the election. Maybe then that's when that's when the UFO community makes us move. We need this. People need to be told the truth already. It's just ridiculous already. It's absurd that a lot of us are living in this fantasy world where we're completely alone. When that's not the case. There's something here. There's something interacting with us and potentially abducting us, just like in that video that we're talking about here. That could be. I don't know. I don't know if we're ever going to prove one way or another what happened in that video. I don't think it's possible. It's not like that video there is not like the Turkey UFO videos. It's not like the Vegas video. To me, those videos, that stuff serves as proof, right? Particularly the Vegas case, more so even than the Turkey stuff, because as far as I'm concerned, the Vegas case is the best one, because not only do we have interaction with people and witnesses that interacted with these things that were in their actual backyard, right? But we have the fact that we were able to prove that there was no CGI used, and we were able to prove that there was there was some sort of they were using some kind of technology to prevent the cell phone from filming them. 66% of the pixels were deleted in the area where that face appeared above the fence. So there's multiple various reasons why the Vegas case, to me, is better than anything else we've ever had. But I think we're going to get better as time. We're going to get even better stuff as time goes on because of the way technology is improving. Mark my words on that. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.